Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody, wherever they're joining from for this webinar. And this webinar is about the 5G connected enterprises. It's a very interesting topic for all of us. And this is the hot topic that is happening in the market. Look at the telcos, enterprises, the entire partner ecosystem. So my name is Ram Seshan. I will be your host for the day and also moderate the whole session. Let me thank you all for taking the time to join us. I do see a lot of people are joining in as we speak. And hopefully this will be a very interesting conversation. And for a change, we have said we're not going to do any of the PPT or presentation. We want to keep it a lively, practical interaction based on whatever is the experiences from the market. And interestingly, this is a 5G topic. And I have with me 5 great people in the room. And did I say room? Okay, this is the e-room, and this has become the norm of the day. We are so used to having people inside a room or in a conference room, but now it's all a digital conference room. And I have 5 great people today to talk about that and share their experience and see how the whole ecosystem is going to pan out and what is going to be beneficial for each one of us, either as a consumer or as a B2B2X consumer. So I think what's happening is, you see a lot of telecom operators, the traditional telecom operators who are communication service providers. So they are moving from their role of a CSP to DSP, a digital service provider. And then the other buzzword that's happening is telco. Is it a telco or a techco? I think that's another hot topic. The technologies are changing, the environment is changing, the ecosystem is changing. And this is a whole lot of opportunity for each of the operators or the enterprises. So joining us on the panel discussion, as I mentioned, we have 5 great people with me. I will introduce, it's an honor for me to introduce each one of them. We have Camille Mendler, the chief analyst from Omdia. I think many of you know her. She's a very, very popular person in this area with 25 years of digital economy experience. She's a versatile speaker in 5G. She does analyzing the shifts of all the demand patterns, how B2B enterprises are evolving, and she's also an advisor to many of the telcos and to the enterprises. And Camille is a very, very active contributor and analyst in cloud, SaaS, private networks, and 5G, of course, is a favorite topic. And she is an expert judge in many of the GSMA Awards Forum, TMF Excellence Award, and she's among the who's who in the 5G forum. Camille is based out of London. Welcome, Camille, and I know for sure you will share some very interesting facts and ideas to trigger the whole discussion today. Okay. I have another expert, Mr. Abdul Baghi. Mr. Abdul Baghi heads the Zain Group Digital Enablement Group, and he is quite a versatile person for the Zain Group. As the head of digital enablement, his responsibility is to drive the digital strategy, while as an OpCo, Zain gets 5G ready, and Zain is already investing heavily on the 5G network. They're ready to launch their voice over 5G, and they are partnering with healthcare and education. And in his role, his primary responsibility as a group responsible is to ensure that all the OpCos in different countries of the Zain portfolio are adopting the strategy that the group drives, and this is in line with what the 5G market is demanding to the customer. So welcome, Mr. Abdul Baghi, to this session.
Thank you, Ram. Thank you for having me, and I hope we're going to have an exciting and fruitful session here. Thank you.
Okay, then we have Mr. Saurabh. Saurabh, from Tata Communications. And his primary role is he's a leader in the 5G product management. He's a very seasoned IT professional. Saurabh started his career in Vodafone. He has been with Bharti Airtel. He has been with the systems integrator and product organizations like Wipro and Convergys. And his current responsibility includes leading the 5G product management, product incubation, private networks for Tata Communications. And those are the special areas of interest. And Saurabh is based out of Delhi in India. Welcome, Saurabh.
Thank you, Ram. Look forward to this fruitful, engaging session. Thank you.
Yeah. And then we have Mr. Mohammad Rubiat. He is the Vice President of Infrastructure Manager in Robi Axiata. He's a seasoned ICT professional in the telecom media sector, and he has been driving the transformation programs in 5G automation. As a Vice President Infrastructure, I think there's a lot of responsibility rests with him in terms of creating the whole 5G ecosystem, and infrastructure forms a very critical part of that. He's also an expert speaker in 5G, AI application and automation, and I think we should not forget that 5G is one, but the whole lot of services, application, automation drive the entire ecosystem, and he's one of the experts in that. He's got a lot of practices, best practices, guidebooks, white papers written on 5G, AI/ML, and optical communication, and a very active contributor in GSMA, TMF, ACM, IEEE. And welcome, Mr. Rubiat, to this session.
Thank you, Ram. Thank you, Ram. It's been a pleasure to meet you all, and I look forward to have a very fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we have Mr. Kiran Punjabi. He is the head of product management in Technotree. Kiran has 20+ years of experience in the telecom domain, spans across telecom operators across the globe, and he has been with BPL Telecom, he has been with Ericsson, Tata Teleservices, he has been with product vendors, with Combers, and he was actively part of the MTN Group IT, and that's another important role where Group IT and strategy plays. And interestingly, he was working in the group Open API programs in the microservices architecture, and most of this enablement that happens for a partner ecosystem is primarily based in architecture enablement is one of the key drivers for that. And he was with the MTN Group, and currently his responsibility is to head the product management in Technotree. And very interestingly, the product vendors also are evolving as the telcos evolve and as the consumer scenarios and the whole enterprise scenario evolves. So I think product companies have a lot of important role to play in this whole ecosystem enablement. Welcome, Kiran, to this session.
Thanks, Ram. Glad to be part of such an elite panel and contribute from my side, and more importantly, learn from the group. Looking forward to it.
Okay. So a quick update. So for all the participants, it will be good if you can post your questions in the Q&A window, and the panel members would be looking at the window, and they would be responding to that. And we would definitely, at the end of the session, we have 15 minutes set for the Q&A, and we'll pick up some of the top questions, and the panel members would address this. And so with that, I would like to invite Kamil to provide a perspective of what this 5G is about, what 5G for B2B, B2X enterprises is about, what's driving the whole ecosystem. Is it telcos that they are driving, or is it the enterprises, or the third parties, or the product vendors? So I think, Kamil, the next 10 minutes is here for you to talk about what's happening around the globe.
My goodness, we have to do this in 10 minutes. It's going to be challenging, but I'm going to try. I've got my timer on my phone, and we're going to give it a go. But thank you so much for the opportunity to be part of this discussion. These are exciting times for our industry, don't forget. In the past quarter, we have posted globally in the global mobile industry the highest growth rate that we've seen in the past 12 years. The industry revenue grew by 5.5%. Doesn't sound too exciting, does it, to some people? But actually, if you look historically, we're doing very, very well. And it's about time. And some of that is due to 5G. Not all of it, but a lot of it is about 5G. And I'm really thrilled to talk to you about 5G because it is a growth vector. But it is not just another G. And I think we need to examine the opportunity in very specific ways. It's not just about the consumer growth. It's about B2B. We've seen less evidence of that yet. And but actually that's where a lot of the growth opportunity lies, in the B2B space. And so I think the three things I wanted to talk to you about today and to get across, and I hope we'll be able to debate this, is that when we talk about enterprise 5G, the opportunity is not just about private 5G. It's important, it's there, but it's not the only opportunity around enterprise 5G. That was the first thing, because I think sometimes these terms are used, interchangeably, and they shouldn't be, because there's a wider opportunity than that. The second thing is that 5G in the B2B space, it's a portfolio sale. And by that, I mean, you're not just going to be selling connectivity, you're going to be selling outcomes, and outcomes that are built using 5G and a range of other technologies to deliver those outcomes to a business outcome to an enterprise. And to do that is my third point, is that you're going to have an ecosystem. And I suspect actually you're going to have to be part of several ecosystems, some of which already exist that you join, some that you will build yourselves, and some of them be quite unique to the country and the operations that you have in your organization. But we're still, it's still early days. 5G is still in its infancy. If we think globally, subscriptions, and most of them are still consumer subscriptions, exceeded what, 500 million at the end of 2021. But we've seen growth year on year of 137%, which is not shabby, I would say. And although China is really driving a lot of that growth, with or without China, 5G adoption has been greater than 3G and 4G when they were launched. So you do see a hockey stick. Now the question is the level of penetration that we're going to have in the market. But from my perspective, as I have tracked the growth of 5G over the past few years and speaking to enterprises, the perceptions of 5G are really changing. When I look at what the top 5 perceived benefits of 5G are amongst enterprises, and here I'm talking about mid-size to very large enterprises, those who've got a few hundred to 10,000, or more employees. The benefits that people are talking about are, delivering real-time, data insights for faster decision-making, or improving the productivity of field workers, or accelerating the use of process automation. These are outcomes, they're business outcomes. And that was quite different when I asked the same question a year or so ago. The number one benefit perceived of 5G was actually, oh, well, I can reduce my reliance on fixed connectivity services, which I don't think of that, are as good for my business. There's a much more nuanced understanding of what 5G could do. Or let me put it another way. There are some very high expectations and aspirations around 5G, which all of you have to now deliver. But I think this is a good thing. And now, how are you going to do that? Now, as I said before, enterprise 5G is not synonymous with private 5G. There are different flavors out there. And I'm talking from the perception of that customer. 5G is not one size fits all. And I think from a sales and marketing perspective, there's sort of 4 different flavors. There's sort of public 5G, which is anywhere productivity, which is where the focus is a person using, a mobile phone, or they're using a tablet. That's sort of what I'd call off-the-shelf 5G. And then there's fixed wireless, which has tremendous potential that we don't talk enough about. Not in every country. If you're a very small island nation, covered in fiber, fixed wireless might not be the answer for you. Not number one on the list, but different if you have vast space and your copper infrastructure is really not good enough anymore. 5G FWA is a marvelous opportunity to provide good connectivity to sites. It might be to a construction site. It might be to a restaurant that's growing fast and wants to set up very quickly, a company that's merging. And there, the point of consumption there is a router. So those are sort of off-the-shelf opportunities for 5G. And, fixed wireless is, when time is money type of proposition. Then we move into sort of the a la carte flavors of 5G that we see out there. And, private 5G is the most obvious one. And that's obviously to a campus environment, and actually beyond the campus, because of course we can actually do this to multiple and then movement as well. And you can have a 5G core, you have access points, there are different flavors of that. And of course, the other a la carte option that's emerging, we're not quite there yet, or some people are doing this, but it's very small, is the slicing, where you have a virtual environment, where you're a slice of that networking environment that's been tuned to a particular need. Maybe it's to support Formula One racing, whatever it might be, or it might be entertainment, a range of different reasons why you might want to have this virtual slice. And that's more a la carte. So it could be self-serve or consultative. And all of that's very exciting, but it also means from your perspective, you need to have the sort of sales environment, the portal. You need to have the right type of propositions together. But adoption is happening. If I look at investment plans amongst enterprises around the world, already right now, in terms of public 5G, the mobile aspect, 34% of enterprises have some, and this is from our global survey of 4,500 enterprises in 60 countries, I think no one else has done a larger one, are using this now, and they will grow to about, within the next 2 years, I would imagine about, from the expectations of the survey, about half of enterprises are going to be using that. Fixed wireless, small base, maybe 6% of enterprises using it now. Next 2 years, we expect 45% of enterprises to have some involvement in fixed wireless. That's what they're telling us. And then some really interesting growth around 5G, private 5G. Very small base. Only a small number of countries make this available now, democratize the spectrum and making this possible by whatever regulatory means. Maybe only 3% today, but the appetite for private 5G is high. And the next 2 years, 40% of enterprises have said to us they would like to explore private 5G. An interesting network slicing, which really is mostly being experiment testing right now, fewer than 2% of enterprises trying it today. More than a third would like to try network slicing. So these are very, very positive numbers. Expectations are really rising about 5G, even if the service is not commercially available. And clearly not every service is required for every organization. Let's not forget that private 5G and slicing are really more orientated to the larger enterprises. But, SOHOs, SMEs, mid-market firms are very much aligned to public 5G FWA. But let's be clear, it's a portfolio sale. So you're going to be selling 5G with some other things. 80% of enterprises that we've spoken to say that if they're going to be interested, if they're going to be deploying edge computing, that 5G is indispensable to get the full benefits of edge computing. So these are synergies between technologies. And not only that, those that are buying private 5G are also going to be buying professional services. And the number one professional service that those private 5G buyers going to be security services. So do you have the capability? Can you work with someone? And even we talk a lot about the metaverse, but actually in reality, in industrial context, a fifth of enterprises are already investing in immersive technologies and augmented reality, and also believe that to take advantage of these immersive environments, they're going to have to upgrade their campus environment. So that's why it's a portfolio sale. You need to orchestrate the management of all of these technologies across multiple domains. Now, what are people using that 5G for? A range of different things, but number one on the list, it's about the people rather than the machines still. Connected worker, worker safety, physical security, all of these things are, that's my alarm saying stop speaking. I'll give it one more minute if you'll allow me. The key applications, so asset tracking, monitoring, remote control, worker safety, all of these things are really high on the list. Now, there's going to be a question on which industries are investing most in 5G right now, and particularly in private 5G. So I'm not going to give you the answer now, we'll come back to that. But I would like to leave you with one point, which is if we focus on the private 5G environment, I have to tell you that telcos working alone represent only 1 out of 10 of the private network deals that we've seen. But at the same time, only 1 in 4 is enterprise managed alone. So the takeaway here is that multi-party deals are most common. That means you need to build the partnerships. And the enterprises are looking for expertise, the right ecosystem, and the right management platform. Let me stop there. Huge opportunities, and I'm hoping that we'll now be able to talk about that in the wider panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Camille. I think that was a quick, short, 10 minutes, very interesting update about what 5G has got to offer. I know it's very difficult to do something in 10 minutes, but one interesting point that you brought out is we're talking about public, fixed, private, and then the slicing part. I think that's a very interesting part that you did bring out. And probably we will go to the panel at some point of time to talk about what that means. But right now, we'll just run a quick poll. So this is a very interesting poll. We want to see what 5G industry verticals are, what you think are the ones that will be your focus growth area. So we have 30 seconds. The participants could, I presume you can see the poll there and you can pick your choices there, and we'll come back in about 30 seconds. And these are some of the very interesting areas which 5G offers as the industry vertical, because telcos are definitely partnering in this whole ecosystem. And as I think Kamil mentioned, only 1 out of 5 enterprise opportunities are being led by the telcos, and it's all being driven now by the other enterprises and the whole partner ecosystem that that needs to be evolved. So this is a completely different mindset for the telcos and the enterprise. Go ahead and put your resumes, put your things there, and we will see what comes out.
I'm interested to hear what the results are. See if they align to what we've seen out in terms of the industry breakdown we've seen globally. I voted too, by the way, so hopefully I've made the right vote too.
Okay. you have multiple votes there. Wow, interesting. So we have the results. Thanks for all the choices that you have added. We have EdTech coming at 41%, healthcare unanimously coming out at close to 68%, manufacturing at 48%, sports and gaming 32%, we have transportation and logistics at 48%, agri-business 18%, that's interesting, retail at 27%, and we have energy and utilities 45%. Kamil, anything that surprises you, or this is?
Well, this is a very, I think this is a very rational response, and because what I'm seeing here is, I think the audience understands it's not just about private 5G, that it's there's a wider opportunity. If you think about healthcare, it's not just going to be, providing solutions in hospitals, but reaching out to individuals out in the field, providing, connected healthcare services out there, fixed wireless. And so actually the whole portfolio, 5G portfolio, can be addressed by healthcare. Manufacturing is usually number 1 on the list, I find, in other polls that we've done, but that's purely from a private 5G perspective. The broader opportunity is transport. Yes, agribusiness as well. So I'm really pleased with those results.
Good. Okay, so let's go to the panel. I have a few interesting observations and points that I've taken from your presentation. So probably Mr. Abdul Baghi, would it be good if you can share from a Zain group, what are the key priorities? And you saw the poll results, EdTech, healthcare, and I also see Zain has partnered with healthcare and education providers. So do you see these are the key industry vertical growths in the markets that you're operating, particularly Middle East, given the fact that each market has its own dynamics like Asia Pacific, Middle East, North America, and Europe? So from a Middle East perspective, it will be good if we want to hear from you what's 5G got to do and what Zain Group is seeing as its key revenue drivers.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Ram. And thank you, Kamil, for the very interesting presentations and facts that you shared with us. And of course, I just want to capitalize on that market, the maturity of the market and the ecosystem, which is really shaping and pushing the telecom to get into these 5G rays and providing the services to the market. Just a very quick intro to Zain. Zain is a big group of telecom that we're serving in Africa and GCC, Middle East. We are the leader on most of these countries that Zain is serving on. We're first of the operator that we adopt and launch the 5G, especially in Kuwait, Saudi, Bahrain. And going back to your question, yes, that was the question, and the main driver for us on that is what is our strategy into these 5G. So that's why we adopt a very strong strategy that focusing mainly into dimension. The first dimension is focusing on the telecom itself, evolution of the telecom, and the second dimension is focusing on to growing the verticals. So capitalizing on the telecom that we have, the very strong infrastructure to build the 5G. However, on verticals, we spend and we're focusing into acquiring and creating these verticals, becoming a significant player in the ICT. We managed to have Zain Tech, that is a standalone business on Zain, on top of Zain, focusing on the B2B business, and then also the fintech, the healthcare, and the infrastructure. That is the 4 verticals that Zain is focusing on. And yes, I believe the telecom needs to get out of this traditional telecom. And of course, to enrich the skill set that we have it in the telecom by putting these vertical, by acquiring these new skills that we don't have in the traditional telecom. And I believe that's what we made us as Zain unique in the region by adopting this, and we're pushing hard to be ahead of the curve on this race, and I believe we're reaching there.
Thanks, Mr. Abdul Bagi, for that
Thank you.
perspective.
Thank you.
And in fact, we're just going through what Zain is doing. There's something called Zain Kids that they have launched as a connectivity service. Do you see this a trend in the Middle East region as such, Middle East and the North Africa, where remote education or reaching out to this using the 5G, is that one of the business that you see as an enabler using the 5G network and the telco services?
Yes, Mr. Ram. Yes, of course, that we see a significant growth and demand on that. Not only on this segment. To be honest with you, we've seen a lot of growth and demand on the B2B, the private network, in the games, in the kids. This market here in the GCC, it's transforming into a digital economic, digital market. The market is growing very fast. With this, the oil or all these kind of things that is helping the market here is to become one of a very fast growing market in the world. So yes, going back to your question, we can see a very significant growth and demand on that, and that is being, I guess, with the 5G, it's even triggering that and accelerating this kind of demand.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll call upon Mr. Rubaiyat. You have seen the poll. Just wanted you to reflect and share your thoughts on what vertical markets Axiata will be focusing, and what's the trend in the region, because ASEAN is again a different region compared to Middle East or Europe, and probably about a very interesting point that Kamil brought out on the whole network slicing and also security as a thing, and coming from the infrastructure background and heading that part. How do you see that evolving and that becoming a critical part of this whole 5G ecosystem? Because there are services, but then the whole platform and security and infrastructure is another critical area. So what are the capabilities that you think are needed to provide this to the enterprises?
Thanks, Ram. This is a very important aspect of B2B growth, I should say. So I was involved in a TM Forum research earlier this year, where we have identified a couple of promising vertical industries. Those are like, I'm telling according to the priorities. So first is healthcare, second, financial services, third, media and entertainment, fourth, public sector, fifth, energy and utilities, sixth, education, seventh, manufacturing, eighth, automotive, and ninth is transportation. So this comes out from a TM Forum research. And if you look at today's result, that is pretty much similar, because healthcare is in our research, it was the first one. Here in the poll, this is also the first one. So the results are actually similar. And these are the verticals which we think that will be delivering the next wave of growth. And I echo with Kamil that this is not only a G, this is a whole new thing we need to work on. And this is, we need, as a CSPs, we need to work with the portfolio, not only with the particular service. So coming to the traditional telcos where a connectivity provider, the things are not similar like in today's world. It is changing. So now we have to be portfolio of solution provider. So that is the thing we need to focus on. Now, as you talk about what are the service models for B2B market, actually there are mainly three types of service models. First, as I said, as a connectivity provider, that means including connectivity as a service, customized connectivity, and network slicing. So this is the first part of it. Second, as a developer or participant in platform business models. And thirdly, there's also another, the most promising one is as a provider of end-to-end services, the one Kamil actually talked about. So this is the most promising ones. And as you talked about the geography, if you look at in that research earlier this year with TM Forum, we found that these end-to-end services traction is getting more and more mostly in Asia and Europe. So the operators of Asia and Europe are also Americas are more and more focused to be a provider of end-to-end services. So this is the whole thing we are looking into. Over to you, Ram.
Okay, I think good point that you brought about this whole, how the three service models that you mentioned. I think that's a very interesting part. Just one point on, do you think that a lot of companies are focusing on BSS now? 5G initially came as a network side, but then the whole paradigm has shifted right up to the digital layer and right up to the customer experience, what you provide for an enterprise and to their customers. And that's a very complex understanding where a lot of people understand consumer direct, enterprise direct, but bringing a consumer experience in an enterprise and providing enterprises to consumer is a very complex scenario. Now, do you see from your ecosystem, and you're on the operations side, on the OpCo side, do you see the other ecosystems are mature and evolving, and do they understand what you need? For example, there could be product vendors, there could be service providers, there could be other enterprise integration. Do you think they are also in the same league? Do they understand what is needed and what is the success factor for the ecosystem?
Okay, thanks, Ram. This is a very important aspect. So actually, if we talk about the current situation, the things are not up to that mark. So it's evolving. Because as Kamil said, that most of the use cases are also evolving, and the CSPs and the other players, partners are actually collaborating to frame the use cases around the globe. This is the same thing around the globe. And Kamil has said one very important thing, that till now, the 5G subscription is actually the consumer based. So moving into the actual B2B verticals, the things are yet to be full ready. And if I talk about a very important aspect to deliver the B2B business is the BSS capabilities and the platform readiness. So I'll talk about the BSS capabilities, what are really required to deliver the new wave of growth or the next wave of growth, that are granular charging, real-time revenue management, ecosystem and partner management, that is orchestration and facilitation of ecosystem partners. Also, we need to have an integrated digital experience and commerce management. With that, we need rapid and automated and real-time service creation and provisioning. Currently, this provisioning is done on a manual basis, but in 5G era, this cannot be done anymore. So it needs to be zero-touch end-user account management. That is zero-touch automated SLA creation with access provided to multiple partners. As you know, with the CSPs, there will be multiple partners working in the whole ecosystem. Also, we need the enablement for IoT and edge platforms over the BSS. We also need automated device lifecycle and commercial management, especially for the large-scale IoT and edge services. I will explain a bit more on this. That is, when you go for massive IoT, then you will be needing the complex SLA management automation combined with charging models and the lifecycle management for telco, both for telco and non-telco services. This will enable the MMTC, EMBB, and now another thing is coming into the picture, that is CMTC, that is critical machine-to-machine communication. So if you look at the whole thing, a high level of automation is required to facilitate the whole thing. And these are the BSS capabilities needed to deliver the next wave of growth. Thank you, Ram.
Thank you, Rubiat. Saurabh, I think a very interesting thing that we picked up in the first presentation that Kamil made, private networks. And this is one of the interesting topics that I know which interests you. And can you explain, I mean, where do you see this whole private network concept going? Because we see today is very small adoption, but in the next 3 years, we see a significant uptake on this. And from a global communications provider, from an enterprise point of view, how this whole thing is going to evolve, and what you see are the let's say, the next 1 to 2 years, what are the top services that you see will be the critical ones that telcos should be latching on to?
See, thanks, Ram. The private networks is going to be a huge game changer for the industry. Lot of, as Kamil said, a lot of interest is being generated by the industry on going into private networks. In fact, even the recent research shows that, in fact, in India and worldwide, there are 40% industries who want to move to private networks. So in next 2 years, we see manufacturing or health, as you showed, your result showed healthcare, manufacturing, and there are other industries like logistics and all have a lot of scope of moving on to this private 5G networks. In fact, healthcare is going to rely largely on private networks for for this. So we see a lot of use cases being implemented in next 2 years. We are seeing a lot of queries and inquisitiveness from these industries. They want they're just trying to understand how the industry is going to evolve and what benefits they are going to get. But we see a lot of interest from healthcare and these industries, and telcos will have a lot of opportunity to automate and bring in efficiency in the way these industries work. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what Mr. Rubiat actually brought about one interesting point on this rapid service creation. And I presume you are doing, what do you think is the disruptive technology that is going to be in the near future to enable this rapid service creation? Because the traditional method, I mean, Agile is more on IT principle, but rapid service creation is a different ballgame, and probably some thoughts on that.
See, the rapid service creation in terms of what you. I just wanted to understand your question more on rapid service creation. What do you want to understand?
So one of the things that we spoke about was entire partner ecosystem. While you provide all the infrastructure and services, when your third party, for example, take in healthcare or manufacturing, for example, that I see the drones are being used by manufacturing industries to go and do the proactive maintenance, the monitoring and maintenance of that. And that's the other aspect is drone is being used even as a delivery option, or let's say healthcare, medical option. So there are drone as a service, whereas healthcare is a different industry vertical, but they're using different technologies. And so how do you create this service when marketplaces are there, there are digital platforms there, and then there are third-party ecosystem there. So how does the whole service creation, who owns the service creation? Is it the healthcare, for example, or the manufacturing vertical, or is it the telcos who will drive? So who is owning? I mean, that's a big challenge.
See, in a B2B2X scenario, the service is the first B is going to give the service to the second B, and second B works directly with the customers. So the telcos or the providers are going to work with the industry and provide them specific solutions for us, industry specific solutions. So the solution is going to be owned jointly by the telco and the industry for which that solution is being built. So they would jointly understand the customer needs, build a solution for that specific industry, and 5G would be a major enabler. Like you said, a drone, or you say in a hospital, a remote surgery device. So that solution application will have to be built in collaboration with the hospital. A telco like us would collaborate with the hospital or an industry and build in that specific solution for that organization.
Thanks,
So to your question on who is going to own, the solution is going to be co-owned by the three parties. It's not just the telco who will own the solution. It is going to be the telco, the provider, and the platform provider and the industry. So it's going to be a jointly owned solution, which will benefit all the three parties. Good.
I think interesting point there. Now coming to, Kiran must be wondering why there are no questions to him. Kiran, the reason is I wanted to get all this perspective from opcos, from infrastructure provider, from what the industry is expecting. But Kiran, in your role, you're building products, you're designing products for the future, for the current and for the future. Yeah. Where do you see the challenges, or where do you see the opportunities for product companies? Because I think they have to change their mindset. This is about not just building a product or application, but this is about creating an ecosystem where you need to share. I think data has to be shared, network has to be shared. So where does the boundary start and end, or there are no boundaries? So what do you see the role of product vendors in creating and helping the telcos for this ecosystem?
Okay, I think that's a great question. The main change has to be in the mindset, because you are not going to be a vendor anymore. So this relation of supplier to the customer is going to change into more of partnership, right? And as Saurabh rightly said, and even Camille and Rubiat also mentioned, it's an ecosystem play, right? And what is going to happen going forward is, since 5G has so much of promise of reliability, high speed, quality of service, and latency, and we are living in a world where there are many startups providing solutions, you're going to have solutions coming up across all the places in the world, right? Now, while that is fantastic for the enterprises because they now have an opportunity to use 5G enabled services, it's also going to be very difficult for them to go and scout for these solutions individually, right? So that is where the CSPs are in a fantastic place to actually act as that melting pot and launch something like a 5G marketplace and offer this plethora of services, right from offering a network slice to offering compute on mobile edge, as well as offering IoT analytics and the various vertical solutions. Now, telcos rely also on their technology partners, who are the vendors, right? Now, in this opportunity, the vendors will have to work as co-creators with the telcos. Okay, so let's say, for example, Technotree or other providers, right? While we help enhance the telcos, enhance their BSS platforms by, let's say, introducing commerce layers, introducing capability to sell network slices, partner products, there is a significant room for these low-code, no-code orchestrator platforms, which are your service creator platforms, which are needed for individual industries. Like a healthcare industry needs a specific solution where you have a startup that is offering, let's say, remote diagnostic as a solution. You have another startup that is offering the complete patient management capability. You as a vendor, can help as a telco or a telco to bring these services together, orchestrate this end-to-end service, and then work with the telco for a joint go-to-market and sell these services to their enterprise customers. Now, these enterprise customers while they have adapted to the internet-enabled way of working thanks to COVID-19, they're still skeptical about how much of this is going to be reliable. So there's going to be a lot of POCs that are needed there, right, to establish trust. So that is where, again, the vendor's role really enhances that. You need to have a team internally that is agile enough to work with these enterprises through the CSPs, right? They work on joint go-to-markets. The CSPs will need to have product managers, and these product managers will need to work with the product managers on the vendor side, right? So there are going to be a lot of horizontal and vertical capabilities that these vendors need to bring in. From a horizontal perspective is your BSS layer, the commerce, the billing, the payments, the order management, but various vertical elements like what do I need to do for the healthcare industry? What capabilities I need to bring in for the manufacturing, right? All these, are the opportunities which are available for the vendors out there. And, this is already something that we are seeing in the market, and based on the partners we are working with and the CSPs we are working with.
Thanks, Kiran. I think that's a couple of interesting points that you mentioned, and we'll come to that on this low code, no code, which is the biggest enabler for the ecosystem. We'll run a quick poll just to get another perspective, and you'll have the options on the screen. In 30 seconds, probably pick your choices there. Okay, this is about, while we talked about industry vertical, a different perspective of what 5G services do you think will drive the top line growth? There could be more, but we just wanted to see if there's something which is quite, on the top priority of all the telcos and the service providers. So you have the options of fleet management. We talk about smart grid. That's from the energy utility side. I think that's a pretty interesting thing on the power sector. And then the smart city, cloud gaming, and connected cars. Interesting. I presume you have put your choices there. That's interesting. We have a lot of response which is towards the smart city and fleet management and cloud gaming. Camille, is this in line? Of course, we don't have the healthcare service here, but it's just looking at smart city.
Well, I mean, smart city includes so many different things, actually. It's an amalgam of various things, including transportation management, people management, security. So that makes sense. They're pretty complex ecosystems. You've got to have a good relationship with the government, but it's not a bad place to be hunting for business.
Good. So that's a good point. Now, just coming back to Mr. Rubia, what do you see is the role of, when we talk about smart city or smart grid, a lot of these things are very infrastructure intensive, but I think infrastructure is one part. And then the whole service offerings, revenue sharing models is, as a telco, how much are telcos open to come to the revenue sharing model? Because at the end of the day, while you have to survive, would they also be willing to share? I know they are sharing network, but then will they be willing to share the data? Because your customers are, cutting across all these verticals. So how much of that would the telcos be willing to share? For that matter, I could ask the banking sector, will they be willing to share that information to bring, what is the common interest of the end customer? Because enterprise eventually reach out to some of these customers, right? So how do telco view this?
Okay, thank you, Ram. The thing is that, as Kiran said, that the whole thing, also Saurabh says that the whole thing needs to be a co-creation actually. Because telco cannot deliver all the services alone. And as we look at the services or variety of the services, so telco don't have the capability to deliver or design and deliver all the things. So it needs to be a kind of platform kind of thing. Telco will provide the connectivity and the platform where the targeted industry and the developers can come together and design the services and sell together the services. And here comes the role of BSS. That is, I am talking about the next to deliver the next wave of growth. We need to have a agile BSS, which will allow all these parties to collaborate in a common platform to deliver services to the end customer. So this is the whole point of it. Thank you.
Okay, good. So one very important question in this whole ecosystem, right? While we say everyone said that it's a partner and everyone has to survive together, what is the one thing that you would do if you have to have the telcos leading this whole game of monetizing? Because at the end of the day, it's all about monetizing. And many times, a lot of services are launched, but if there is no monetization, then that becomes a very difficult. So where does the monetization come? Is it on the service? Is it on the entire partner chain? And where would the telcos, involve themselves in this whole monetization game? So anyone in the panel could take this up.
I'll give it a go. There are different aspects, but what I think that telcos are very good at, things that are becoming more and more important in the digital world. One is identity management, managing identity for transactions, for physical identity, identity and security. The automation of that in a digital economy is an incredibly important role. And I think telcos are well positioned to do that and can build around that. But one quick point, it's all about ownership of customer. It's not necessarily control of that ecosystem or being on top. It's about making enough money to profitable revenues either way. You don't have to be on top to do that. But there are some linchpin activities I think telcos are uniquely capable of fulfilling. Globally, by the way.
Okay.
And just to add to what Kim said, see, it's the telcos are not going to be a dumb pipe just providing the 5G. The enterprise solutions which they're going to partner, as I said, with the industry partners, they are going to monetize through those solutions which they are providing, the collaboration solutions or the other industry specific solutions which are going to be owned by the telco and the industry champion. So through that is going to be a major game changer for the productivity of the industry, and obviously they're going to spend money on that, and that's going to be one major revenue earning opportunity for a telco.
I will add to Saurabh that the platform will be owned by telco, and all the charging will be done by the BSS. So BSS is up to on telco side. So the monetization comes from here. So telco will be providing services as well as the host of the platform. So from there, actually, the monetization comes into the picture. So you will the telcos will be the money machine who will be earning the money, and for that reason, they will be taking the major share from this out of this total value chain. Actually, I think Saurabh is hinting onto that, right?
Yeah, you're right. I agree with you.
Okay. I think.
If I may add here also,
yes.
Mr. Ram, guys.
Yeah,
yes. As I said before, also one of the opportunities that I can see really is for telecom to be on that game is to expand vertically. That is very important, and adding these new skill sets that usually not in the DNA of the telecom. That is very important. I agree with my friends here. When it comes to the monetization, also the BSS very important in that domain to have that strong BSS capable for this 5G charging, the new way of charging, the slicing, and all these kind of things. Having the BSS is a cornerstone for these opportunities. That's something also telecom really need to adapt and look at it very early. Of course, innovations is very important. We need to encourage that in our telecom. We need to encourage innovation. We need to change even the mindset of doing the things in a traditional way by even delivering projects in a new way, in agile way. We need to be agile. We need to look at the customer and how to bring value to customers, either B2B or B2C. That is very important. I think that is gonna make us in the game and be ahead of the curve of this 5G race and 5G monetization. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you very much. I think we are probably coming to the end of the hour. While there are a few questions which are posted, I will pick a couple of them. If any of the audience would like to ask the question, you can put your hands up and we will unmute you and we'll get this done. But before that, just a couple of interesting questions. What impact 5G will have on the backhaul networks? Because telcos are invested on that. So I think probably Ms. Rubiat, you would take this?
Yeah, sure. Actually, the thing is that the backhaul, to deliver your 5G services, backhaul is one of the most important things from the infrastructure perspective. And the thing is that we need to build, we cannot, as a developing country like India, Bangladesh, we cannot fiberize the whole country, right? So there will be a mix of microwave and fiber. And one good thing is the operator needs to figure out, according to the bandwidth requirement and the whole design, we need to design our transmission network as a mix of fiber and microwave. And the access will be in mainly the microwave, but in the backhaul part, it must be fiber.
Okay, good. I think there are two other interesting questions So there's a question on how 5G will revolutionize robotic control in future. And I think there's a lot of robotic automations in different aspects, be it on the manufacturing side or on the telco side. So we are seeing robotics everywhere, but what more will 5G enable and what kind of special technology or infrastructure is needed to have a robotic control in this whole ecosystem?
Okay, I'll take that. So in case of robotics, as you said, Kamil has clearly mentioned one thing, that is, here comes the picture of the private networks. Private networks will not be deployed everywhere. It will be on a case-by-case basis. And this, where the robotic automation or robotic precision is required, there we need to deploy the private 5G actually. And those private 5G networks will be localized and to that enterprise only to deliver that actually URLLC. This will be a combination of URLLC and MMTC. So this can only be delivered through 5G standalone architecture along with private networks. So this is the point about it.
Okay, another question which is about what the telco 5Gs are offering from the BSS stack. What will happen, or how is it different from what the cloud providers are offering as private 5G, like what AWS is offering? So is it going to be a clash, or is it going to be two different things?
I can take that, Ram.
Yeah.
So, there is always this debate whether the hyperscalers will be competitors to the telcos or will they be partners. So it's going to be actually a mix of both, and it's going to be based on the territories, right? So what is going to happen is telcos, when they set up these advanced BSS systems, and when I say advanced BSS systems, you're essentially going to modernize your catalog, your CRM, your order manager, and the works, and also most importantly, bring a commerce element into it where you are able to offer not just your product, but even your partners' products as a marketplace, right? And these partner products will range from IoT to network slices to edge and various industry-specific points, right, or product. Now, Therein, you're also going to offer cloud capacity. Now, I'm using the word capacity as an oversimplifier, but you're also going to offer cloud services from hyperscalers, right? And a plethora of hyperscalers on the same marketplace, right? And this is going to be, for example, in some regions, it's going to be AWS is strong. In another region, it's GCP, which is strong. Or in some cases, there's actually a local cloud provider that has the best service. So all of this is something that is going to be offered to enterprises. So in future, you'll have a startup which comes to a 5G marketplace and clicks on what all they need to set up their business. It could be from CRM, it could be some IoT capabilities, it could be some diagnostics capabilities, plus the other capabilities, and get going, right? Including a slice from the network, right? So that's where the hyperscalers and CSPs will be competing, but will also be complementing and cooperating with each other.
Okay. Probably in the interest of time, I'll take one last question, and that's, we have looked at robotics, we have looked at networks, we have looked at other areas. It's an interesting question, and finally, when it comes to pricing and tariff management. So we are offering a whole lot of services in this whole 5G world. Will there be a different billing model, or what's a view from the telcos?
Yeah, actually, it should be a whole different model, because as Saurabh said, that each of the solution will be industry specific, and the solution will be built in collaboration with the partners, the targeted industry, and the telco. And for each of the cases, the billing will be tailor-made. And here comes the point I talked about. Here we need the BSS capability for real-time revenue management and real-time service provisioning and service creation and provisioning. So in 5G era, the charging system is a very, very important area to look at, with same priority as the infrastructure or network perspective.
The charging models in public 5G and private 5G are also going to be very different, because you're setting up a network completely for a private network. So, and the services what you're offering in a private network, the devices or the use cases. So depending on the specific use cases and the kind of private and public, the models would change.
Okay, I think there are a lot of interesting viewpoints that has come out in the session, and hopefully I think that the participants would have got a good view. And I think there's also a lot of cross-pollination of ideas and thoughts of what's driving the industry, what's driving the telcos, what's driving the ecosystem, what product vendors should be doing, what the whole industry sees as a success story. Kamil, any final remarks from your side, and what will be your one single advice to the entire community on 5G?
I think the best piece of advice I can give you is make sure that you can map 5G to all of your B2B customer base, not just the very largest enterprises. Make sure that there's as much focus on the mid-market as the very large enterprise, and even into the SMB. And that is the way to balance out the opportunity, and really work with others. And that's really critical. Work with others to succeed. Okay, I think that brings us to the end of this session. I think all good things have to end. And given the fact that all of us are, in our daily work and daily busy schedule, thanks, Mr. Rubiat, Saurabh, Abdul Baghi, Kamil, and Kiran, for your time and some valuable insights and thoughts. And thanks to the team which has actually put this whole webinar. Thanks, Amit and team. And this is a good session. And yeah, we hope to see you again in another set of sessions, and we'll have this engaging sessions going forward. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day.
Thank you, Ram.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Having a good day. Bye, guys.
Bye.